Hey everyone, and welcome to our brand new webinar, App Growth Point, related to App Store A/B testing and validating app and mobile game ideas and concepts. And thank you so much for joining us today. And before we dive deep into this topic, I would like to introduce our lovely speakers today. So let's take a look who is speaking here. Hagar Siri is our great, lovely invited guest. She's a great professional. She's head of ASO and conversion rate optimization at Maburst. Welcome, Hagar, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Great, thank you. And here we also have Nadia. Nadia is the head of product at SplitMetrics. Nadia, say hi.
Hi, everyone.
And also we have our amazing Marina Tripolska. She is an account executive team lead at SplitMetrics, and she works with our product SplitMetrics Optimize. So guys, could you please find the chart here before we start so that you could feel free to ask any questions. Let's use the chart, not the Q&A section here, so that it would be convenient and everything would be in one place. You can send here your questions directly to our speakers today, just by choosing the panelists button, or both to panelists and to the whole audience today. So feel free to ask questions. And I should say that in the end, we'll have a concise Q&A session if we have enough time, but probably we'll answer your questions just on the go. If we don't have enough time in the end, don't worry, we'll send you a follow-up email with the recording and also with the answers and questions to them. So probably could you please share in the chat something so that we could check that it works okay? Probably could you please name an app you used first today? In the morning today, and probably we'll get some ideas and download these apps afterwards. So I think we are good to start, right? And I have already voiced our topic today, but the question is, why should we validate some ideas or concepts at all? Why don't we give it just a shot, just like have an idea and go with it and go and implement it? Nadia, could you please take the floor and answer this question?
Yeah, that's my favorite question, actually, because I by myself know that I have lots of idea. Why couldn't just jump in and start push all the ideas to life? But actually, the idea validation helps you to reduce the risk of failure and raise the chance for your app to succeed, because there are like a lot of apps and games out there, and you will compete with all of the games. So this idea validation helps you to increase your metrics and do not spend much time and resources to developing your app or game or even the product. It helps you to create an app that audience will love, and you will get very, very high metrics on the go. So one of our examples of this idea validation, it's recent example, it's a dating app, Sillies. They recently ran a pre-launch test with us, and they was working with different options of the icon, and they create the first version, the current version, you see it on the screen. And after that, they create a freemium version, two with real people and one with mechanic of the game. And this validation, these ideas, they tested all of them, and they was able to increase the conversion rate by 19% just by validating some ideas and to check these ideas before launch. So if they will not able to do that, they will just go live with the current icon, their conversion rate will be lower. So that's actually why you have to validate. I think that Hagar also have answer on these questions.
Yeah, sure. Of course, I know some of you know probably, or I'm working at Mobers. It's a digital marketing agency, and we work with clients in all sizes. So we have the biggest ones like Google or Samsung, or even the smallest startups that just starting their way. And idea validation is a great topic, and is actually, we're very much involved in it from the get-go. Since it's important for apps in all sizes, really. So we want to have idea validation to help them reduce costs, scale quicker, and find different areas of opportunities that we can find. We have clients actually reaching out to us without having a solid idea of what their app is even about. And by using our services, we can really refine the app idea, and the app can become more profitable. So when we're launching a new app, or we're optimizing one, it's important to validate the app idea, or even the direction the app is going to if you're making any significant changes. So in Mobus, we do that by utilizing our services. So we have the ASO, CRO, the organic team, and you also have the media, strategy, product, creative. All of these services are designed to get you in the right direction. And yeah, that's basically it.
Thank you, Hagar. And now let's move to the A/B testing framework itself, to the A/B testing loop. And Nadia, could you please take a word again?
Yeah, we like at Optimize, it's our daily job to help our users to validate hypotheses, and we create a framework for like internal framework at first. To help different clients with different goals to follow these steps and get the great results. So now we share this framework with you, and we will try to explain each step and with tips and tricks and examples on each step. So you can take this framework and know how to use it and run like any validate any idea you want. So it's 8 steps. Let's move on.
Yeah, and Marie, could you please describe the first step for us?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Nadia, all's good?
No.
Okay, hello everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. And yeah, I'll be starting to dive deeper into the first step of our A/B testing framework, which is market and competitive research. Because what ideas could be created actually without research? And as Hagar just mentioned, so for example, like in Mobers, they're helping their clients to find the right direction. And with no like thorough previous analysis of the market, of your potential future competitors, it's just impossible to find this right direction, where to move on. Okay, so competitors and market research, it actually helps you to understand like where you will stay or stay right now in the competitive field, and like how your app or game could perform better than your competitors. And at SplitMetrics, we believe that in-depth market research, like not market, but overall research, is actually based on 3 key points or key areas, which are market research, competitors, and audience analysis. So Lina, let's move on. With the first part of it, which is market research, again, I would say in simple terms, market research helps you to understand who performs best in a particular category, in a particular game genre, why they succeed actually in this category, and of course, use your competitors' best practices for your apps and games. The main goal of the market research is to analyze the size of a particular app category or game genre, and understand like where your product will be the best fit for your potential customer, where it will be actively growing and getting the biggest market share, and where a product could be of the most relevance in terms of like geographical and regional differences. Yeah, the second part of the whole first point research is competitors research. And here, like, we need to make sure that we are differentiating from our competitors firstly from product value standpoint. So I would say you need to learn how your competitors highlight their product unique selling points and what key product values they are featuring, they are highlighting in their app stores. So therefore, like, get the best of the insights for your apps or games' unique selling points. And like the most valuable insights in terms of competitors analysis could be collected from like their creatives, of course, because highlighting the value on creatives is one of the key app store optimization like hacks. Competitors' performance metrics that could be found like in open source, and insights about like their audiences, their audience types. I would say like that. Hagar, maybe you could share like how you're doing competitors and research, maybe some hacks from Moburst here.
Oh yeah, we have a lot of them. In Moburst, we worked, I think, with every category out there. So competitors analysis is one of the main things that we want to look after. Yeah, Mary, everything you just said, it's really well correlated to what we do at Moburst as well, because we really want to attract users into installing the app with using, when I'm talking about CRO in general, it's about optimizing creatives. And this is the main thing we want to do. So we do competitors analysis in all types of performance, let's say with media and general strategy, but we're looking at CRO and how the competitors are working in the App Store. We want to understand what they're using, and even more importantly, what they don't use anymore. So we can really tell by them doing A/B testing. We want to know what they stopped using, what variations they were using, and what they implemented. And this can teach us a lot about the category in general and our top competitors. So we want to take the biggest names, but also the competitors that are closely ranked to the app that we were developing. And we want to identify similarities in elements, colors, messaging, tone, anything that can really make the app correlate better with the category. And it's important to know that every category acts very differently within the App Store. It's not only apps and games, it's even the subcategories within the App Store itself. So we're talking about visual changes and messaging. And if I just break it up, let's say with visuals, if you're already in that slide, that's great. So let's say this example in particular, we have karaoke and music videos, and they all using the same type of icon. It's really clear to see that the microphone is there and it's all purple. And if you see the screenshots, they will look exactly the same. And this is the category. The category is very vibrant, lots of colors, lots of elements, and this is what attracts users. And we have another example here that it's all about online or digital signature. And you can see how the signature is really part of the whole design. And you can see right at the top on the right, you have the signature that's right all across the screenshots. Actually encourages users to scroll even. So it's a big element that we really want to use since we see it over and over again. But you have so many different apps. So you have like the dating apps, they are using a lot of red, and we have even more spiritual apps are using blue and green. So it's some use video, some use more portrait, landscape. You have a lot to cover. So it's really important to understand the competitors. And also when we're talking about messaging, since we are doing, we're combining ASO and CRO in numbers, it's a bit different because ASO is about visibility and keyword rankings, and CRO is more about optimizing creatives. So we know what keywords users are looking for. We really want to make sure that the keywords that are high traffic are somewhere in the screenshots, obviously not in a keyword stuffing way, but we have copywriters for that. And then it's more likely for users to really look, searching for a specific keyword and seeing it in the screenshots are more likely to install the app. And the reason we do all of that, all of this competitors analysis, is for two reasons. Sometimes we use both. So the first one will be, we want to speak in the similar language to the category, especially if it's that dominant, like the purple examples we've seen. Or the other example, we want to stand out. We don't want to be exactly in the same realm that everyone is doing. And for that, we kind of need test. We need to test. So I guess that's the next step.
Yeah, thank you so much, Hagar. Very useful. And now let's proceed to the audience analysis.
Actually, I want to jump in with one more story, just to highlight how important the category is. It's actually my personal case from my personal life, not from our clients. But I think that this story could be very useful for you, and you will see how valuable not audience, but competitor analysis could be. So the story happened 3 years ago. I was on maternity leave and I got a baby. There is no slide supporting this story, just my personal story.
Yeah,
so,
I know.
I just had a baby, and as a young mother, I know nothing about babies and all the gadgets that could help me to make my life easier. And turned out that not all the babies sleep well, and all parents, like most parents, they just go crazy trying to get their parents to sleep. And there is like huge industry around this get my baby to sleep story. But the trick was to track the time when baby is awake and when baby is sleeping. So I was searching an app that could help me to track the sleeping periods, and I could not find nothing. Like there was no app in App Store that was tracking baby sleep. I was searching with keywords like sleep, baby sleep, sleeping baby, and all the kinds of this combination of baby and sleep. So there was no app in an App Store. And I was really confused because I thought, like, okay, but it's a common problem. Lots of parents out there, it looks like a huge market. The problem with not sleeping babies also very like strong, and parents are eager to pay like any money to help them with it. And product manager in my head said, like, okay, there is no app. I see the problem. The market is huge. What if I create this app by myself? And I asked my husband to give me some huge actually money to create this app. We even started to create UX design for this app, but turned out that I was wrong, and there was a lot of apps that could help parents to track babies and their sleep. But I was searching wrong category. So all these apps was in completely different category with, and I could be able to find this app with other keywords like baby trackers. So if you just put baby trackers into App Store, you'll see like a lot of apps that could solve this problem. So the smart lesson from this story is that even if you do have brilliant idea and you see that the market is huge and no app, no competitors, just make one more step and try to dive deep and make sure that you're searching in a right category, right keyword, and even like right not audience, but category, keywords, and right market. So that's really important with new ideas, because if you do not see competitors, that's a sign that you probably are looking in the wrong direction, because there are a lot of apps and they already could solve like any possible problem. Yeah, that's my smart story.
Yeah,
I think I hope
great.
it could help help you.
Yeah, really great case and relatable. All real life examples, as we can see, are relatable to the mobile stores. So really great. Thank you.
And yeah, and if there are some young parents in chat, so there are apps that could help you.
Yeah, and so let's move on to audience analysis, right? Who takes the floor here?
Okay,
I can take.
yeah, Hagar, please go on.
I'm really moved by the story of Nadia. This is really true. This is true. I mean, when you start an app, you never know like what the idea is it really worth it or not. So it's a really good story. And when we're looking at the audience, is another part, a huge part of the research that we're doing. It's specifically to help us design the right creatives and to approach the right audience with our even the keyword strategy. So I want to understand what the target audience will be like, the main age group, gender, interests, demographics, and languages. So we would like to know where in the world the app would be the most profitable, where, let's say, even on keywords and traffics and search. If you have a specific app like baby sleep tracker and you want to see where the velocity of the search is the biggest, you want to be expanding to other markets and localizations. We will talk about that later, but that's mainly the first step into audience research.
Yeah, thank you, Hagar. Marie, you wanted to add something, or we can proceed to the next step?
Yeah, probably I could tell about how we are diving even deeper into audience research with, of course, SplitMetrics optimized tool. Yeah, just because from our standpoint, this is one of the main steps in the A/B testing strategy and the A/B testing process overall, for both like pre-launch apps and games ideas validation, or even for a live, because sometimes like we hear from our partners and clients that, well, it happened that we were targeting the wrong audience. Well, that's why it's very important to test it first. And it's pretty easy and straightforward process from our side, for example, because in each and every experiment of ours, some from technical perspective, like UTM tags can be used for different ad groups where you are like targeting different parts of your target audience, like different interests or different genders, setting up, well, anything you would like to see and test and dive deeper into like this particular part of your target audience behavior. And yeah, driving all of them just to our A/B tests, to the emulated pages, and then filter out the full user behavior report by different parameters. For example, you can see how like your like male audience react to, I don't know, gameplay screenshots, for example, or female audience react to some baby tracker feature that I don't know, because we're searching for baby tracker apps. Well, all in all, it's best to, within this full research stage, what I wanted to say, it's best to dive as deep as possible into the audiences, because later on you'll be like launching your product for your specific target audience, and you'll be optimizing your like live game or app for this part of like people that you're targeting within your like everyday user acquisition campaigns. So yeah, that's practically what I wanted to add here.
Thank you so much, Marie. And now the second step of the A/B testing framework, and its ideation. Who could dive deeper? Marie.
Oh, yeah, probably I'll take the floor again. So about the ideation, it's very easy and very simple, yet a bit time consuming, because within the ideation part, we decided, framework that will be collecting like all possible ideation ideas, right? All possible changes, everything based on the market research from the first step that we've already done. We're taking everything we have, from different standpoints, like internal, for example, source of ideas. We're sitting together with our team, for example, brainstorming or creating a focus group and just collecting ideas from them. Or like some external resources apart from the research that you've already done. It could be open sources, different blogs, it could be different benchmarks reports, insights per category. Well, from any source that you could take this information, collect it, and like combine different ideas. For example, you can see even here, we've just highlighted like one of the key ideas that our partners and clients are testing for apps, for games. So for example, if it's a new app or even an idea for the app, why not to test it before even start developing it? Because you're like cutting the risks of putting too much resources into the idea that might not work later on, as Nadia mentioned in the very beginning. I don't know, different ideas on creatives, and probably like ladies will dive deeper into that later on. And yeah, I wanted to say that please do not forget about the benchmarks, because this is, I would say, one of the key sources that will help you to understand where you are standing in a particular category, whether like your performance at the moment is lower or upper the average, the median numbers. Yeah, we've recently, our great, amazing marketing team actually launched this new benchmarks report, and they already shared the link to chat. So yeah, take a look, and while with each and every move you're doing in the testing field, compare yourself to the market so that you're going into the right direction.
Yeah, thank you so much, Marie. And before Hagar proceeds with ideation, I know that she has much to say on this topic. I have a small note for our audience. I've just found out that our chat doesn't work, unfortunately. There are some technical issues, so you guys didn't have an opportunity to send us your app you used today or ask questions, but no worries, please feel free to ask these questions in return to the recording email you will get tomorrow, or just ask them under the video on YouTube, or just please feel free to reach out to us, to me personally, to Hagar, to Nadia and Marie on LinkedIn. We'll share the links to our LinkedIn pages at the end of the webinar. Sorry. Oh, and now, cool. This is magic. Thank you so much, Grace. This is magic, and the chat has started working. So very cool. Yeah, thank you. And now at this positive remark, let's proceed with ideation. Hagar, please share a few examples how you work with that stage at MyBurst.
Yeah, sure. Plus, first, I want to say that the benchmark spray is super, super important. So I'm so happy that you guys released this feature and service, and we will probably use it too. And this is super important in order to understand where your app is at any given time, seasonality, you know. So thank you for that. And regarding to ideation, we also have this brainstorming. This is very similar to what we do at MyBurst, where after the initial part of the research and the competitors analysis, the audience research, and also understanding what the app is about, understanding the main USPs and what is really unique about the app. We will have a brainstorm session with the creative team, and we will together think of a few concepts that are mostly describe the app and focusing on user intent, actually. So after taking into consideration the visual and everything that relates to that, we want to think about the core motivation. So in this example, actually, it's a good example. It's an app called The Chosen. This is a TV show about the life of Jesus, and it's actually it's a pretty interesting case study, because when looking at this app and this client that came to us, we were wondering what will attract users the most. Are they looking for an app to watch TV, something like Netflix or Hulu, and this is what you see on the left that is more streaming focused? Or are they just looking to find a religious show, and that will be a very different visual element? And these core motivations are also reflecting into the actual creative work. So when we want to do an A/B test, the first thing we want to do is identify the main core motivations and create concepts that are really matching these motivations, and then test them. These needs to be very different from one another, and you can see that in that example. And after we have a winner and we identify the core motivation of the majority of our audience, we move on to fine-tuning process. But this is like the main step that we do at first.
Thank you so much, Hagar. Great example, practical tip, I would say. And now we have like 2 steps in one slide, hypothesis forming and variation testing. So Nadia?
Yeah, that's my turn. About hypothesis forming, it's common mistake to start on ideas and test ideas, not hypotheses. The difference is that when you test an idea, you are not able to formalize it correctly, and this leads to the situation when you get the results of the test, you see it and stare at the results and think, okay, now what? You don't know what's the next. You don't know, is it good or bad, and how should you interpret the results? So the hypothesis forming helps you to understand in advance what the result you should expect, and how will you understand, is it a great result, a bad result, and what could be done next. So it's actually from product management market, I guess. But when you do have an idea, you have to form this idea into hypothesis. We use this hypothesis formula. You also could take it and use it. And formula sounds like, I believe that by doing something, we get something, some outcome, and it's important to put the real, like not the real, but some concrete outcome here. And also that improves some metric. For example, like I believe by changing the orientation of screenshot from horizontal to vertical, my app will get 10% more installs, because my target audience I use mobile phones and prefer to see the horizontal oriented screenshots, and that improves the conversion rate from page views to app installs. And the best is by app installs to some number. If you will form your ideas in that way, you could be able to choose which hypothesis will bring you the most result. And the smart tip here is to start with the hypothesis that could bring you more impact, not spend your time to test and check some ideas that could not bring you huge impact to your app. And the other smart tip that I just remember, it's not here, but always try to choose the hypothesis that influence the first view, like the first line of the view for user. For example, do not start test the 5th or like 10th screenshot in the app. Start from the first screenshot. The main icon also could bring you more results. So start with testing element of the first line impression. yeah, that's about hypothesis forming and variation of tests. So for variation of tests, you could create different variations of to try to test the same hypothesis. Try to create 2 or 3 variations if possible.
Yeah,
And
thank you
the
so
next
much.
one.
Yeah, before we proceed, I wanted to ask the question from the to answer, sorry, the question from the chat by Surrender. Should your app icon or screenshots look like other apps in the same category, or should it look different to stand out? How do you make your app stand out in a crowded app store? This is a good one, I think. From the one hand, on the one hand, you should be guided by benchmarks because they prove that something works. But on the other hand, you have to stand out. So I wanted to ask Hagar, probably you could answer this question.
Yeah, it's a really good question. Thank you. Yeah, and this is really relates to how big is your app? Is it just a starting, are you just starting, or is it a big app that is already well established? Obviously, the bigger the app, it's gonna have its own logo and very much stand out. But if you're just starting, I would say, first of all, test it. You have to, this is a great test to do. Like one of them would be following the competitors' analysis and try something that is more in line with the competitors. And the other one would be really standing out and trying the opposite from what your competitors are doing. So, and not just by colors, but even if the competitors are using video, maybe not use video, or if they're using landscape, use portrait, something to make your app creative stand out. I think SplitMetrics have a great service for that, and you can really have a search page test, and this is a great opportunity to really see how your app is performing creative-wise among the other competitors. And this would be a great test to do. But again, it's already dependent on the size of the app and how well established it is already.
Yeah, thank you so much, Hagar. We have a lot of questions in chat, so I think we'll take one more now and then proceed with our presentation, and then we'll get back to the questions. No one will be skipped. We'll answer everything. So Doga asked, what are your minimal detectable effect on confidence level suggestions when conducting A/B testing on Android, and why? I think this question has to go to Marie.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Lina, and thanks, Doga, for your question. I believe you either use SplitMetrics optimized platform or you're a huge expert in A/B testing, because these questions are more on the statistical side of A/B tests and how the winner calculation formulas work. So one of our methodologies, we have 3 in the platform. One of them is sequential, and only this one allows you to set up a minimum detectable effect and confidence level for each test. By default, we when we release the sequential testing, by default, we set up a 5% confidence level for all our tests. Android, iOS, that is not depending on the platform. The reason behind this decision was just that 5% confidence level is the common practice among all the statistical methods of calculation winner in A/B testing. However, from my personal practice, I would say that I hear that sometimes companies are setting up 10-15% confidence level. The reason behind that, just in some calculations of the sample size, because the higher confidence level is, the lower significance level you should receive, and the less traffic you need for A/B test. That is the first one. And about the minimum detectable effect, it's more complex, to be honest. However, most of our clients are setting minimum detectable effect up automatically, and it's done by our system when we are reaching at least, as far as I remember, 200 visitors per variation. And then our system analyzes the differences in between or among your testing variations, your current conversion rate, and understands which MDE it should set up in order to get statistically significant result. However, we also can set up MDE manually. And again, it depends on your conversion rate. It depends on the changes that you are testing among your variations. So if you're testing some super significant changes like 2 total different app concepts, for example, of course, here you can set up a higher significance level because you're able to get results more quickly and more easily with the less traffic needed for this experiment. But if you're testing, I don't know, the colors of the captions or just one word on the third screenshots, as an example, of course, you'll be needing as low as possible MDE for the system to be able to increase its sensitivity and detect this very change that you're testing. Yeah.
Oh, wow, thank you so much, Maria. Thank you so much for such a detailed answer. Before we move on, there was a question at the start from Daniel. At the start of the webinar, you mentioned the 19% uplift from icon testing. Was this test done by AB on Google Play Store? No, Daniel, actually, if you're talking about the Siliz case, this was done via our SplitMetrics optimized platform. And actually, this is very interesting case. So I would ask our colleagues to share the direct link to this case study on chat. Guys, you are so active. Thank you so much for your questions. I would like to repeat again that we will answer all of them. If we don't have enough time during the webinar, we'll send the answers along with the recording afterwards. And now let's proceed to our next step, which was on hold. This is designing the experiment, not the design related to creatives, but designing an experiment. So Nadia, could you please share the details of the stage?
It's actually Marie.
Okay.
Or Hagar, but I also...
That's okay, I can take this one, that's no problem. So designing the experiment, by designing, we of course do not mean like designing like creatives, but setting up a strategy for your ongoing testing process. And basically, when you set up the initial strategy for the A/B testing, like be ready that your strategy will be changed from each and every experiment that you're running, because as soon as you get the results, of course, you'll be able to make some database decisions on like user behavior, on the performance of a particular feature of the app or character of the game. And of course, along the way, you'll be changing your A/B testing strategy based on data. Some tips from our side. Lina, could you please get back to the previous slide? I'm sorry. So some tips from our side. If you're testing pre-launch, if you're validating ideas for new apps and games, make sure you're starting your testing strategy and you're starting tests with audiences. 2 to 3 experiments would be just fine to understand who's your like payable users, best performing, and for whom you'll be later on launching the app, as we mentioned before. You can also do one of the like first steps, a mix of hypotheses, where you're taking, I don't know, 2 different concepts of your app or of the screenshots and like separating your audiences. That's 2 mixed, like 2 hypotheses mixed in one test, later on like filter the result and understand the performance. And of course, after that, test creatives first. They have the most impact on your performance, on your users' behavioral patterns. They could be seen from the creatives, and of course, the most like valuable points of your projects, of your apps.
Yeah, thank you, Marie.
Yeah, thanks, Lina.
And now let's discuss the experiment, like technically. What's the process? Who's going to
Well,
explain?
I believe it's me again. Yeah, just to sum up the whole process of A/B tests, and then I see in our chat that you guys are actively asking about like whether it Apple App Store experiments or Google Play console. So I'll take a couple of minutes to tell you a bit more how we are doing tests at SplitMetrics Optimize. So the whole test setup process usually take from 5 to 10 minutes. It doesn't depend on whether you're testing pre-launch or live apps and games. So what we need to do is for the pre-launch, just upload the assets to our system. For the live games, just add the link to your app, and our system automatically creates an emulated app product page, which would be our testing page, and as many variations you would like to test, please do. However, we recommend not to have more than 4 of them. The next step, you're choosing the testing methodology, as I mentioned before while answering to Dogo's question. So we have 3 of them. And if you're optimizing actively, ongoingly, if it's some iterative A/B testing in order to increase conversion rates and like get a portion of new users, for example, we should pick Bayesian methodology for that. Sequential is the best used for pre-launch app and games ideas validation. We've done this step, then we're setting up a traffic campaign using, I don't know, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, whatever you use, and drive our users directly to the emulated page. So we're starting the campaign, they are automatically getting to the emulated page, we are collecting the results, and we are understanding how your hypothesis worked or didn't work. Sometimes it also happened, but no need to worry if you didn't have a result in the experiment, it's still the result. Yeah, that's it from my side regarding the experiment. So Nadia, I believe you'll be telling us about analyzing the results of the experiment.
Yeah, that's my turn. Like when you get the result of the test, it's actually about the next step decision, and there are 3 possible options. You have to scale it, iterate it, or kill it. I'll start with killing because it's the easiest part. If you don't see the significant change, just kill the experiment and like say that, okay, the experiment failed. But if you see the significant change in the result, you could iterate the result. This means that you have to run additional test. Take the variation that performs better and exclude the variation that do not perform, and compare the first version of the experiment with the option that performs better. And this iteration could help you to understand if the experiment worth it or not. And the second, the first part, when you see the significant change, you get the result and see the increase in metrics. That's also not the end, unfortunately, or not unfortunately. But if you see the significant change, just try to improve it one more time. And this constant improvement could get you like amazing results. On the next slide, we have, here, we have also our recent case. It's my high school summer party game. They was playing with iterations like 4 times. So the first icon they get, and they iterated, and with each result they get high and higher numbers. And at the end, this iteration to the last iteration, they get 314 increase in installs in Google Play Store and 49% increase in App Store. So this increase is amazing, and they will be not able to do that if they stop just on the 1 iteration. But this constant iteration could help them to get these big results. But here is the tricky part. The trick here is you have to stop somewhere, just not to constantly improve everything. Just when you see the great result, implement it to your app and put it to life. And after that, you could iterate it over and over again. Yeah, that's about analyzing the results. And here also Hagar have some example.
Yeah, this all connects to what you ladies just mentioned right now, because if we sum up the whole process of research and then concepts, this is really the phase of fine-tuning. This is how we call it. So we have the big two concepts here. This is an example of food network. So we have the one is just focusing more on the shows, and the other one is focusing on enticing food. So this will be an example of two concepts. And you want to guess which one won? Just we can do a little A/B testing here. But the winner was on the left. And this is, again, when we're talking about user motivation, what is the actual motivation of installing the app? Is it just for watching shows, or is it about the food and people that are interested in recipes and food? And after we have the concept, we can really go on and proceed to the fine tuning, like Nadia just mentioned. And we really want to make sure we have the one element at a time that we want to test. So as Nadia mentioned, we can't just do tests all the time. We have to implement it at some point, and we will implement and see the changes in CVR after a month. Usually once we have a winner, we predict a sort of increase in CVR. Obviously, it's not a completely neutral environment, but we do see an increase after implementation. And the next step will be to change one element. So if that means change the order of USPs or changing the messaging, images, orientation, this is very important. We haven't mentioned the big differences between App Store and Google Play Store. The whole interface is different. So you have the screens are much smaller on Android. So that means completely different audiences and completely different design. And the same thing goes with video. We want to test the first 3 seconds. This is when users are usually drop. And with icon, we can test the colors and adding text or removing text. So every time we will choose one element and we will test it, implement, and so on. And I think that's about it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Hagar. And I think that's really a very important tip to test only one element at a time. Since if you change the icon, the screenshots, the screenshot order, and you have an increase and uplift in conversion, you'll never know what affected that way, what you optimized. So this will be not useful for your decision making. So thank you so much, Hagar. And let's move on. Step 7, we are close to finishing up, and this is very interesting. Nadia, could you please explain what?
Yeah, finding sharing. It's actually, if you're like one indie hacker that is developing a game or an app, you could skip this step. But if you work in a company with several departments, this step is crucial because there are two problems, two common problems. The first problem is you don't share the result with the company, and different departments are running like absolutely identical tests. And they spend money for this tests, resources for this test. But if they could share what they're doing to others, they could understand that they could help each other and do not repeat tests in different departments. Because, that's why just make sure that you are you like share all your experiments to others so they can use your experiments, and you also could pick up some ideas from other departments, from experiments of others, and you could also implement these ideas. And that's also important for different departments in terms of implementation. If you, for example, find out that some icon, some color or like slogan works better, share this information to product managers, to marketing managers, because for product managers, this information could also be important because they could include this information into product strategy. The same to marketing department. If you like test something and find out that some screenshot works better, you could marketing department could also evaluate these screenshots and include it to marketing campaigns. And the other problem with experiments and with idea validations about store all these experiments into one place, because you run a lot of experiments or you will run a lot of experiments and you are now able to run experiments with native solutions and you like some of the experiments are in Google, some experiments in App Store, some results of experiments in third-party platforms, and there are several places where all the results are saved. And if you want to get the whole picture of your experiments, it's really hard to collect all the data from different sources and to analyze it. And also it will be very hard if, for example, you quit the company and or you enter the company and you will not find the history of experiments. So it's a big problem, and we saw with our clients that sometimes people changes and new people came from the same company with the same idea, and they have no idea that this experiment was already launched and the experiment was already there was already results for this experiment. Yeah, that's about the 7th step. And
Yeah.
I see that we're running out of time, but we also want to show some important information about localization, and I think it's better to.
Yeah, just a small note. I know that Yumari can add here that, about some space for keeping all these findings.
Not Maria. It's
yeah, but I wanted really much to highlight this space.
Yeah, but so I'm as a product head of product for SplitMetrics Optimize, responsible for this new feature. We are planning to launch it, I hope soon. This place, so you could just put all the experiments to this place, this experiment hub, and like all the experiments from any platform, and store it there, so you could have access to all the experiments in one place. Yeah, and yes, and
yeah, thank you. The last but not the least, right?
Yeah, I guess I can take it wherever.
Yeah.
The last step, I think, when it comes to when we're doing A/B tests and we're doing this whole process, is really not to stand in the same place and just repeating the same creatives, but actually to try different areas. So if you have an experiment that is working on specific localization, maybe try different. I mean, this one specifically is for seasonality, but if you go to the next slide, we can see if a specific creatives were working in the US, we want to try it in different localizations as well. But we also want to not just translate, but really localize the screenshots. So this will require a separate audience research and competitors analysis, because every localization is very, very different in terms of category. And also for seasonality, obviously, this was the previous slide, and we can also A/B test seasonality, and we can A/B test, every localization got their own holiday seasons and different seasonality changes. So it's also worth testing. And just remember, if you've done a test a year ago, it doesn't mean that this creative is still working. So we want to try, because trends are changing even in the App Store. And we really want to make sure we keep testing and implementing creatives often.
Yeah, thank you, Hagar. And on this slide, you can also see, like Hagar mentioned, seasonality, and you can see icons, how they are adjusted, icons of one game, how they are adjusted to various events, seasonal holidays like Halloween, Christmas. So don't forget to test. This might bring you an uplift, visible uplift in conversion. And Now here
can I
is-
jump in with before
Sure.
we,
Yeah, sure.
yeah, with
Go
Christmas,
on.
you mentioned Christmas, and I just remember the story. It's a short story. When we were launching a global campaign, it was global advertising campaign related to Christmas. We create the Santa Claus on the screenshots and put the same Santa Claus into all the regions. And these screenshots with Santa Claus perform really great in United States, but they fail in Europe, especially in Germany and Italy. And when we saw these small numbers and was thinking, what could we do in a different way? We understood, like, marketers from Germany team and Italian team, they say like, this Santa Claus doesn't look like Santa Claus at all. You have to make him fatter. Like, our Santa Claus is more fat. Please make him another. And we were searching the examples of how Santa Claus looks like in different regions. And we create different screenshots with different look of Santa Claus, and our metrics raise like very fast. So that's my story about localization. Just don't remember that people and objects and heroes, they look
Different
in
for
different
various cultures.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Nadia. Really great one. And I have a similar one, actually. We had this one at SplitMetrics with one of our clients, Zimat. They entered the Japanese market, and they wanted to optimize conversion, and they couldn't understand what should work, what worked for all other their target markets, key markets, just wouldn't work in Japan. And they gave a task to their creative team, to their designers team, to add a lot of big colorful elements, emojis, everything, color blast. And the design team was like, oh my God, should we really do it? It doesn't look like something okay. But in the end, they implemented this task. They, you can see here, they added different captions, colors, a lot of elements to each screenshot, and it actually worked. And the lesson learned here is that every culture has its specificity, different mentality. So you have, meaning localization doesn't mean just translating your text, your copy on the App Store and the Google Play. Localization involves adjusting your creatives to the culture, to the country or region. And it is rewarding, since you can see our test on SplitMetrics Optimize. They got an improvement in CTR, and their conversion also increased. So thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much, our amazing speakers, for joining me today. Thank you, Hagar. Thank you, Marie and Nadia. And of course, thank you so much, our amazing audience. Thank you for your patience. I know we have run out of time for 3 minutes, but your questions are really great. We have answered the part of them, and as I promised, we'll answer the other parts in the follow-up email with the recording we are going to send out to you. Thanks again. You have just 1 minute to add more questions so that we could answer them. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Wanbing. Thank you,
so
ladies.
Thank you, guys.
For organizing, and ladies, it was a pleasure.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure. I saw a lot of interesting questions in the chat, and I hope I will be able to. I want to answer them.
Maybe we can stay and answer, because I'm like, okay, I'm ready.
We still have attendees here, so we can answer a few questions, but we have run out of time. So I suggest we are sending out the answers with the email.
Yes,
okay.
We'll make sure that we have
everything is answers. No question comes unanswered. We promise. Thank you,
guys, and please feel free to drop a line to LinkedIn. I'm sure we'll be happy to chat. Yeah.